All right, just about ready here. Gonna give it a couple more seconds. Let everybody know in Discord. Hey everybody, Alex Markley here with Markley Bros Entertainment, and today I'm going to be working on some more visual effects for the new Malex Minute episode, and I'm excited to be doing it live. I know last time it was a little sketchy, kind of ran into some problems, but that's okay. You know, we're all learning together as we do this. So I have some exciting stuff to show you here today, but I want to quickly do a shout out to whoever's dialed in right now and hanging out with us. Definitely appreciate you watching, whether you're watching live or if you're watching after the fact. I'm always excited to have people check out what I'm doing, and I appreciate your support. Speaking of support, I am excited to announce that we have a new Patreon supporter. So shout out to Binary Beard, aka Sam. Thank you for supporting us today. It was really exciting to see your pledge come through. And again, shout out to all of my Patreon supporters in my family. Hey, I mean, if our family doesn't believe in us, who will? So again, the Markley Rose Entertainment project is really near and dear to my heart, and I can only get any stuff done on Markley Rose Entertainment because people support me on Patreon, and because I have a day job. That's the other reason. Because if I didn't have a day job, I wouldn't be able to pay the bills or buy food for my kids, and they eat a lot of food. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely absurd. So anyway, so let's dive right in. I'm excited to show you what I have going on here today. So let's go to my Linux desktop, and you should be able to see my DaVinci Resolve. So I've been excited to learn more about DaVinci Resolve. I've never used it for any projects before this project, but having purchased the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K or 6K Pro, and the using the Blackmagic RAW codec, I've been really impressed actually by the image quality and by the different kinds of things that you can do with it. So, even though normally we would use Adobe Premiere for a lot of our stuff, I found out that Adobe Premiere really has some limitations if you want to use Ace's color through the whole pipeline. That's a topic for another day, though. And so let's take a look at our green screen effect. And you'll have to pardon me, I am, yes, still drinking coffee. By the way, anyone who's watching live, definitely toss stuff at me in the chat, either in the YouTube chat or in the Discord chat. I'm going to try to keep an eye on both of those. I always enjoy when I have, back and forth with folks on during these live streams. So let's take a look at this this scene or this shot. This is a continuation of a shot that I've shown some pieces before that it's in a dungeon. It is shot wide on purpose, so this stuff down here is going to be cropped out, and we have plenty of pixels to work with, so not to worry there. But you'll notice that the green screen is not ideal, and to some degree, this is this is intentional. It's a trade-off because you know, I'm dealing with very constrained space. I don't have a huge green screen studio. So what that means is that it's very difficult to evenly light the green screen. And it's very difficult if the green screen is lit well for the green screen not to cast a bunch of green light back onto the actor. So as we go through this, you'll see, if we get to it, you'll see both cases where I'm casting a shadow on the screen, and also the screen is casting green light onto me, and it just makes it really difficult to get a good key. So what do I mean by not getting a good key? And you should be able to see immediately what I'm talking about. This garbage down here is all due to the fact that the green screen is just not lit very well. And going in here real quick, I can always, let's just take a look at our inspector. I can always make the green screen keyer, which we're using delta keyer here. I can always make it a little bit more aggressive about taking out more of the green screen. So, for example, if I just do this, that'll tell the delta keyer that I want to take out more. But you can see immediately the problem here is that it starts to erode more of the image than we would like. In fact, it's basically destroyed big chunks of the image. And that's because the range of colors that are being, the range of colors in the background is really overlapping with the range of colors in these genes and in some other areas. So because it's so underlit and because the saturation is so low, it really basically destroys any hope that we have of a clean key with just one pass of a keyer. So I'm not concerned about this. It's a little bit of extra work, but let's take a look at what I've been doing. And we will take a peek here at this shot here, which you may recognize from the earlier Blender scene demo that I did. I'm going to make sure that my proxy mode is correct. Okay. Even with a reasonably powerful Threadripper workstation, it's pretty difficult to do some of these 6K clips with a bunch of effects applied. So I'm very pleased with how this turned out here. And I'm just kind of jumping through here so that you can kind of see what it is that I expect to get out of this process. And to be clear, we started out with the same mess. But instead of using a single key, delta keyer node, I'm doing this cursed thing. And if I take all of these out, if I take this entire section and this entire section out, you will see immediately that this is affected by the same problem. This clip was affected by the same issue with all of these. And you may have even noticed, if you looked at my test render from a few weeks ago, you may have noticed this kind of garbage showing up around my legs, because it really was not, this had not been cleaned up yet. And it did require a little bit of manual effort. So let's take a look. Oh, and since we're here, let me show you real quick. We're going to focus on garbage matting this evening, but I just want to show you down here near the end of this clip, you can really start to see cases. And this will be actually more visible if I put the output over here. Take a look at this alpha here. So if I zoom in here, you can start to see really clearly how this green light getting cast on my white shirt, it's a reflection from the green screen, is really causing the shirt to be eroded away in some of these spots. So I don't have to belabor this point. You can clearly see the issue that I'm dealing with here. So if you are dealing with a badly lit green screen and trying to recover the footage and make it usable in your composition, look no further than this video, because I think we will be able to talk through at least part of the process of creating these. I think I mixed these up. Yep, I sure did. Oh, that's embarrassing. There we go. So you can see we are able to just put a little bit more attention into the areas that need some attention and produce a really, really clean matte. At least clean enough that I am not embarrassed by it. Which maybe that says more about me. But you know what? You guys are not my therapist. So you can get off my back about it. All right. Moving along. Let's take a look at how this actually works. And we will do it by jumping over to another clip, which I am currently in the process of working on. Okay. So we have a few things going on here. So let's take a look at each thing one at a time. So I have my steaming hot garbage matte that I have started out with, and I really have done almost no work on this. You can see the keyframes here, these ticks along the timeline. These are the keyframes that I put into the primary garbage matte, and you can see it's really not doing much heavy lifting here. It is just grabbing and cutting out the pieces of the video that I know for sure I do not want. Oh, that is my sump pump, by the way. Funny story. We've been having a ton of storms past couple days, and today we had a power outage. So if I disappear suddenly, it is most likely due to a power outage. All right, so anyway, that's providing us with basically a ring around the stuff that we want to keep and throwing everything else away. However, what you'll notice, and we'll go through this sort of piece by piece here in a second. What you'll notice is that I have a bunch of other nodes in here. And if we are just taking a look at the garbage mask, that's what we see over here on the left-hand side, you'll notice there's a bunch of other stuff in here. And a lot of it is, you know, just the white areas are all the areas that we are instructing Delta Keyer, hey, we want you to throw all of this away. And you'll notice that it gets pretty detailed down here. So how are we accomplishing this? This is where we will jump in to actually doing this. And hopefully you will receive value equal to or greater than the cost of entry, which this video is free. So just letting you know that that's what I'm expecting, is you should get some value out of it, but not a lot. Okay. So here's another one of these clips, and we're going to switch back to single, turn off our media pool, and you'll notice that I just copied and pasted this whole mess over here. That's fine. We'll go through it one thing at a time. Just wanted to have something to start with. All right. So there's not a lot going on in here right now. We have our input video, which you can see over here. You can see we have our delta keyer, which is basically set up the same way, and that goes to our output. We do have one garbage. Steaming garbage. That is providing this loop around, or it's like, I guess it's a spline around the stuff that we want to keep and throwing everything else away. But we still have this problem down here, this undifferentiation between the shaded green screen and this denim. So we've got a little bit of a problem here. So how do we go about getting this fixed? Well, let's start by disconnecting all of this stuff, because I want to be able to show you how everything is working without why am I having so much trouble here? Yeah. We'll just take a look here, one thing at a time. Okay. So let's put our input here, and let's put our, we'll actually fit this and fit this and put this over here. Okay. So so this guy is a basic chroma keyer. We're not using delta key here because the task that I'm trying to do is quite a bit simpler, and he has nothing in here yet. So let's throw the input into this guy. Wait a minute. I do not know what just happened there. That is not what I intended. So we're going to try again. There we go. All right. Look at that. Okay. So, and in fact, I'm going to fully reset this guy. So this chroma keyer is doing nothing. And this is basically the factory default settings for the chroma keyer, which is basically to do nothing. And what I want to do is I want to create a new mask that shows me just the areas of the pants that I'm sorry, just the areas of the green screen that I do not want to keep. So I'm going to drag in here, and we'll show the color range so we can see what we're working with. And I'm going to actually keep going because I want it to cut deeper. Now you'll notice that we're starting to get speckles here in the legs. We already knew this was going to happen because we were having the same problem with the delta keyer. There's not one single color range here that will perfectly take out the background and leave us the foreground. So we're going to have to do a little bit of extra work, and that is okay. That's a little excessive there. So let's see what we can do. All right. So what I then was doing, and hopefully we won't run into too many issues here. What I was trying to do was basically tweak these just a little bit to kind of find if there was a slightly better situation, because this is actually kind of excessive and this is not what I want. And if I'm not able to reproduce this easily, Good old binary search. There we go. We're kind of starting to get in there. Let's see about... We don't care about high luminance because there's basically none. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Is that all I did? That is not all I did. Okay. So we're going to take a quick peek at the other one. And see what other non-defaults. Oh yeah, we did some blurring and some contracting. Yeah, and some of this stuff. For sake of time, I'm going to grab this guy again that we copied in, and we're going to copy him in again. Because the main point is not so much that you want... The main point is not so much how to control the keyer as much as it is to just kind of show you the next step here. So we'll get rid of this guy and we'll put this in here. Right. Okay. So this is a little bit closer to what I'm expecting to see, and this is what we will be working with here today. Now, if I toss this over here and switch to alpha to look at the alpha matte, you will see basically what we have here is roughly correct as far as the green screen goes. It's completely covering the entire green screen. But it's also grabbing these little speckles all over my legs, which is not cool. That's not what we want. But that is okay. We will fix it. So the next thing that I'm doing is I'm using this channel Boolean. And the reason I'm doing that is so that I can invert this. So what I'm doing is I'm producing a mask that is, instead of cutting out, instead of basically cutting out the background and leaving the foreground, I'm leaving the background and cutting out the foreground. That will make more sense once we get in here. All right. So we have our we have our garbage mask here. We have our garbage mask here, and we actually need to merge them. So what we're gonna do is let's see here. Oh, there's one other step that I want to talk about real quick. So I need to remove all the keyframes out of these. Remove keyframes. Remove keyframes. Okay. So we're getting there. I want to take the output of this this white and clear and put that in here, which actually no, I think I want to put this in the foreground. We'll see here in a sec. Boop. And background. Okay, cool. So now what we have is this guy, which is another spline. And what we've done is I've created a little setup here where we take this channel Boolean, which inverts this guy, and this channel Boolean, which takes this guy and ands it, which is the logical operation we're doing, ands it with this guy to produce this. The reason we want this is because we're adding to the garbage matte that we produced here. And we're going to do that with this guy here. But the idea is we're taking this garbage matte and we're taking this garbage matte, and we want to add them together. And we don't want this guy to be doing all of this stuff out here. We don't want this guy having an effect outside of the intended area of the image. So we're basically just constraining it down with this spline here. And we'll do that by taking this output here, dropping that in the foreground, and this output here, and dropping this in the background. And now we have this fancy mask here. Oh, you know what? This is the one we want to get rid of. Get out of here. Put that in there. Yeah. Okay. So now we have the garbage matte that we had originally made for this clip, not the one from the other clip that we copied and pasted. We have the garbage matte for this clip, and we have this guy going as well. And I'll just real quick pull this out so that it's affecting, so that it's including all of the pants below the, well, the whole section of this dark green screen that's also where the pants are occluding the screen. So basically what I'm trying to do. Okay, so then we take this output and we drop that into our, oh, no, that's the solid matte. Nope. Garbage matte. Yeah, okay. Now, I don't know what's going on there. There we go. Okay. Now, what have we done? What have we done? We have created a secondary chroma key around just the pants that takes out most of, not all, there's still room for improvement here, but most of the really egregious stuff that we were seeing before. And just to remind you, it was looking like this before. Okay, so where we are going with this is we're going to use a secondary chroma key to affect the area around the pants, but just the area around the pants. Now, you're going to ask me, but Alex, what is going on with these pants? They're super speckled and they're getting eaten away by your other chroma key. And this is not what you want. You're right. That is not great. That's not at all what we want. However, I will fix it, and it will be great. It'll be amazing. So I noticed we had a chat. We've got somebody on. Joel, thank you so much for hopping on. I'm glad to see you, man. It's good. It's good to have you. Good to have you on. And yeah, I think it's pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool. So, yeah. And again, if anybody wants to hit me up in the comments, either live or after the fact, let me know what you're interested in seeing while I toil away at this ridiculous project of mine. Okay, so how do we fix this this nightmare that we have created? Well, the main thing that we want to accomplish, again, is we want for this area to be white everywhere on the green screen that the other keyer is not picking up. We want this to be white everywhere on the green screen, but we want it to be solid black on the legs. So the way that we can do this, and there's multiple different ways, but the way that I found myself having the most success is to use some additional mats for solidifying in the areas that we want to keep. Okay, so I'm going to drop this over here, and I'm going to put it in here, and then put this into the solid mat. I think that's what I'm going to do. Is that an output? What in the world? Oh, this is, yep, that's the Booleans. Nope, that's not what I want. Okay, let's put that in here. Okay, cool. So now what you're going to see is, because this guy is telling this guy, he is saying this whole part should be solid. So the secondary chroma key that we're using to clean up this mess is basically leaving alone this entire area because we have it masked out here. And all we have to do, he says ominously, all we have to do is move around. Oh, Thundercrunch, thank you for your confidence, vote of confidence. I do not assume that I will cover all of your questions, because there are so many questions yet to be addressed. I have questions. I have so many questions. Quentin says, yes. So Quentin asked if I've thought about doing these in Discord before. I have, and basically I'm still experimenting to figure out which mechanism I want to use. And the reason why I would normally, if I choose to do it on YouTube, the reason is because I want a video to be, I'm basically trying to produce some kind of tutorial content that I think might be valuable in the long run. So basically the replay is going to be available. If I don't want the replay to be available, then I'll just jump in the video chat. If that makes sense. And honestly too, like, I'm not going to necessarily post on Twitter and Facebook and everywhere when I'm just going to hop in Hangout. I'm just going to hop in the Hangout chat and hang out. So that's for those of you watching later. That is a plug for our amazing Discord server. All right, so let's take a look at how quickly we can do this. So I'm going to close out a lot of these other things just because it will be easier. Actually, you know what? I do want to see all of this in here. All right. Normally I'm using my 4K resolution, so I have a ton more real estate to work with, but I can really only live stream in 1080p. So this is a much more cramped screen layout than I would normally work with, for those of you who care, which is no one, but that's okay. All right. So for the first one, again, I have not actually set up keyframes on this yet, so I just need to create a rough baseline spline that is going to work for me. And this is I kind of was focusing on the legs sort of independently, because it's an easier shape to work with. It's more regular, and it doesn't have random holes in it than if I was to try to do the legs individually, or do the legs together as a unit. So that's basically, so I try to, kind of get the calf area here, and then, knees, and Then I'll just kind of cap it off down here. Nothing, there's no rules. This is more art than science. So, and that's fine. But what you will see is that I don't actually have to get these lines perfect. And which side of the line I try to stay on kind of depends on whether I'm on the shaded side of the pants or if I'm on the light side of the pants. Because on the light side of the pants, there's actually quite a bit less erosion that I have to worry about. And then on this side, you know, I'm trying to cut into, you know, I'm trying to cut out as much of the garbage as possible without eroding away the pants. So then what I'll do is I will start to add keyframes. So we'll do a keyframe for this left leg guy right here. Boom. And we'll do the right one as well because we want to get that going there. But before we do that, let's do the constraint around here because I just feel like it, I guess. Fit that. And we'll turn keyframes back on for this guy and then close these back up so that I get my screen real estate back. And yeah, so the idea here is that I want the secondary chroma key to be operating in a space that's large enough to capture this entire area, but small enough also that it doesn't start to have weird secondary effects on like my hair and shirt and stuff like that. So Quentin suggests a Blackmagic Web Presenter 4K. And you're just in time for me to mention that we have a brand new Patreon page for folks who are really interested in helping us invest in the future of Markley Bros Entertainment. So just a thought. Those two things don't have to be directly connected. But I just mentioned it out of convenience. So anyway, all joking aside, let's get our keyframes going here. I don't expect to need to do too much here, but where I see some trouble brewing in this area, partly because at the very beginning, I'm a little bit too close, I think. Now you'll notice that the leg has not moved. That's because we haven't actually keyframed it yet. So it's only correct in one very specific spot. But anyway, so if we're working on this one first, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm actually going to grab this up a little bit so that we're taking more of this, you know, because I'm standing right back here. I'm like 2 inches away from the green screen, which is always inadvisable if you're trying not to shade it. So, and then I'll just kind of frame through here. I'm going to grab this and drag it up again on this keyframe here. Yep, and then we start doing our little running thing. And this shot, at least from a composition perspective, this shot is kind of static. So I'm not too worried about this moving too much. Yeah, I think we're probably going to be good. And I don't know where I'm going to actually cut this. So I'm just going to do all of my compositing pre-work so that I have flexibility later when I get to a timing cut. All right, so let's work on our left leg. And I don't know really why I've been focusing on one leg at a time. It just seems easier, although I'm not sure that I can explain why. It feels like it would be more of a psychological thing than a like practical thing. But anyway, I'm gonna just frame around a little bit, get to a point where I want to make an adjustment, and I'm gonna kind of make that adjustment. And if I just jump, like 3 or 4 frames over, usually that gives me a good spot to drop a keyframe. I mean, especially when things are moving this fast, I might have to drop a keyframe like every other frame or every frame. But again, it doesn't need to be perfect, so that's the name of the game, is get it done quick. All right, and I'll just roughly outline where I think the leg is, because and the reason I want to do that is because it helps for linear. It helps for interpolating the spline. If I get to a point where I'm framing out to where the leg is no longer occluded, this part of the leg. If I think if it's a sensible distance that it has to travel, then I have to insert fewer keyframes. So that's my plug for framing up the leg. Did I just switch? I just switched from the back leg to the front leg. That's yeah, this is what happens when you spend too much time talking. And so the Geek 2448 says, this week on the Malex Minute editing, Alex faces his own psychological demons one leg at a time. Trust me, you have no idea what my nightmares are like. They are full of legs. All right, so I'm actually going to fix this by just redoing this, because it's super wrong. It'll only take a moment. Roughly, kind of frame it out and then drag the points more exactly. One of the things about the B spline, it's kind of an interesting thing compared to like the sorts of polygon type stuff that I had to work with Premiere, is that you kind of, if you want to see where the spline ends up, all the points around the point that you're editing already have to be in roughly the same spot. So you end up having to touch and grab and move like all of the points several times, which, whatever, it's fine. It's fine. I do like it though, because it's easier to work with than a Bezier, and for this, it's just kind of convenient. All right. So now that we actually have the correct leg, and we're looking at the interpolation between the first keyframe and the second keyframe that we dropped, it's looking a lot closer. Now I can see for sure that it needs a little bit of help, but it's not too bad. It's this technique of using nodes to kind of articulate mathematically what we want to see, it actually gives us a lot of flexibility, which is one of the reasons why, I initially, when I was working on this, I basically was trying to like actually draw perfect lines around what I wanted to cut out and what I wanted to keep, and it was exhausting. I mean, it was completely the wrong thing to do, and so I kind of went back to the drawing board, and I blew like a whole day working on it, which is never advisable when you only have nights and weekends to work on these things. All right, so the other thing about jumping forward or backward, where going in a direction a few extra frames, and then and then making the larger adjustment, is that like when you end up here, and you're trying to put in the in-between keyframes, it's a lot easier because you know, the linear interpolation might not be good enough, but it certainly gets you most of the way there, and then you just have to adjust a few control points. So, you know, so I wouldn't advise doing it like one every second, you know, when you've got a subject that's like running like this, but you know, you can jump forward several frames. So actually, I wanted to show off a little bit of hardware here too. So I'm going to jump to another angle. And so I got the DaVinci Resolve Speed Editor specifically to work on this problem because I wanted to be able to grab control points and then frame around and then continue to move those same control points without having to deselect the control points first. And if somebody at Blackmagic ever watches this video, why does selecting a B-spline control point take over the keyboard arrows? The keyboard arrows should always be frame left and right. I don't care what the state of your UI is. That is a bad idea. I don't know who made that decision, but they should make a different choice with their lives, okay? Because that was a bad idea. Anyway, so I bought this special piece of hardware just so that I could reliably frame through. But that said, it's actually really nice. It's got, you know, all these buttons that I haven't learned how to use yet, and it's got this gigantic wheelie thing. Yay! It's so sweet. I do enjoy spinning it. It's how I know that I'm alive. I can spin it. Anyway. All right, let's go back to the screen here. Obviously, I'm in need of more coffee. Ow, that was my neck. Did you hear that? Holy cow. All right. So, so this is it. I think I joked that there was like a magic wand. There's no magic wand. This is literally it. We're gonna go through here, and we're gonna put in all of these control points, and all of these, you know, these keyframes, and then the video looks amazing, and that's literally how you do it. And there is not a technology in the world that can save you from a crappy green screen. And again, you know, I really wish that I could afford like a legit green screen studio, you know? But the problem is, it's not even that any of the individual parts are that expensive. Like, green screens are cheap. Lights, they're not cheap, but certainly with modern LED lights, they're not too bad. The problem is the square footage that you need to be able to get a real green screen going. It's just absurd. Like, no doubt it is absurd how much square footage you need because of the inverse square law. You need to be pretty far away from a source of green light if you don't want green light cast on you. So anyway, that's my little rant. Another chat comment, Quentin says, the control points update almost immediately and then the frame renders a second or two later. That is true. And the reason that's happening is because I only have a Threadripper with 64 gigs of RAM and not, I guess, whatever they have in Hollywood when they're editing 6K footage. Like, I don't actually know. I keep getting error messages that my GPU is running low on RAM. But my GPU has like 8 gigs of RAM. So I don't actually know. I cannot conceptualize what kind of hardware people would be using that would normally be able to handle this. Like, it must be nuts. Absolutely nuts. And that's also why you'll notice me framing forward and backward. If I can get this, you can't see it, over here, if I can get this little green line around the area that I'm looking at, that means that the frames have already been rendered with the current settings and they are cached in RAM. so I can more see what I'm doing. Yeah, and I'm moving so fast here. Like, there are going to be points, well, in this clip, I'm actually moving fast the whole time. This is, we're introducing action to the Malex Minute, if you can believe it or not. And by action, I just mean lots of running and screaming. But, you know, that's what they do in Hollywood for action, right? Just run and scream. So, look at me. I'm a filmmaker, guys. My mama's so proud of me. All right. What is going on over here? That is a lot of motion blur. It's a lot of motion blur. I'm also not too worried about this area because this is just going to get cropped out. Everything below this point, pretty much, is just going to get cropped out. So, yeah. A second per frame? A second? Yeah, I mean, so I have to kind of frame back and forth a few times, even if it's green. Like, I don't know what is, honestly, like, Resolve is great, and I'm enjoying it a lot, but it has some really bizarre performance issues sometimes, and I'm still learning how to navigate around them. You know, like, it's supposed to be cached, but I don't know if something is going on, like it's cached out on the network disk or something, and it just doesn't keep it in RAM because it's like, hey, I can just throw this away and retrieve it from the disk, or what is going on, you know. But yes, it definitely seems to make some really weird choices sometimes, and I don't have great example or a great explanation yet for what is going on. Also, I want to make it clear too, I feel like this is taking a really long time, and it is. It's a lot of manual work. This is why Hollywood does a ton of outsourcing for their VFX stuff, and also a reason why a lot of VFX houses are just straight going out of business, because that's just how things are. But that said, when I get some good music going and I get into that flow state, man, I can knock out a few of these in a couple hours. It's not that bad. It's really not. Although, again, with me running like this is going to be kind of a pain. Not gonna lie. All right, so Thundercrunch says that is what action is, running and screaming. Yes, that's all I've learned, is that's, and maybe guns, I don't know. We're not doing guns. Probably not. Maybe, but not today. So, B-Raw secretly using a codec with P-frames, Lake H264, how they get the bit rates they do. Otherwise, I guess the 6K doesn't support real RAW recording. Yeah, so I have been really pleased with the B-Raw files. I have not had any performance issues, really. Certainly, it's creating a lot of data on the disk, but I mean, that's kind of what I would expect. So yeah, I mean, and honestly, like, the post-processing, just the fact that I don't need to do any post-processing, like, I'm operating directly on B-Raw here. There's no ingest workflow, which to me is kind of amazing. And I feel like I'm getting kind of spoiled because I know, like, the debayer process is usually pretty time intensive, and then you've also got, like, intermediate work product that you kind of have to store somewhere. At least that's how it was before. I don't know if they're still doing that or not. Yeah, I don't know what, as far as the underlying codec technology is, aside from what they have in their specs. But but yeah, I will say it seems like it looks amazing, and I haven't had any usability issues with it, so no complaints. I mean, I literally at this point with the 6K camera and doing this kind of frame by frame post processing work, what I'm seeing is the limitation of the lens that I'm using. Like it's definitely every shot. It's the lens is the limiting factor. So. So Quentin says that the codec could theoretically explain why it takes so long to render some frames. That's definitely not it, because if I go over here, like, so let me just flip over to this guy. Like, I can go into a pretty high resolution here, and I've got, if I'm not using Fusion, I mean it's pretty fast. I can almost random access and basically playback. Well, so playback is a little slower. And the other reason why I know it's Fusion and not the reason why I think it's Fusion and not the actual decoding process is because the if I turn the timeline resolution up, so this timeline resolution adjustment, which it looks like it just crashed, so that's great. You know, I can basically do half or quarter resolution, and that won't affect what file it's getting from the disk, and it doesn't affect the decoding process, I don't think, because there's not proxy files. I'm not using a real proxy workflow. Like, again, there's no, yeah. Oh no, a stateless. Okay, so. So Quentin says he has a friend who wrote a multi-threaded stateless MPEG-2 decoder just so he could play the video efficiently forward and backward. That does sound terrifying. I'm not sure how I should feel about that. That's very scary. All right. So the problem that I'm running into now is that, and this is, I think I mentioned this, that there's occasionally some glitching out that happens here. You know, it just, like, sometimes Resolve is not the most stable product in the world, and that's sad. So, you know, what are you gonna do? All right. So we'll load it back up, and hopefully, was I in the edit page? I bet I wasn't. I was trying to demonstrate how we could actually play. Yeah. So it'll actually play at 24 frames a second. And I mean, it should be able to, it basically, I mean, I'm jogging here. It's a video of me. I'm jogging through a video of me jogging, I guess, which is exactly the kind of thing that happens when you're short on sleep and it's 9 p.m. But yeah, I mean, this is not all cached in RAM. There is no way. And I can jog through it basically at random access. And it doesn't start to slow down until I have a compositing, like a Fusion effects pipeline turned on. And this is actually, timeline proxy mode has been off this whole time. So just so we're clear. Excuse me. Jeez. This is the full 6K resolution. Wait. No, that's not right. Yeah, this is, let's turn, 6144. I mean, we're all just hanging out here, right? So 6144. Let's see if we can crash this thing again. All right, so let's update this timeline so that it's processing at full 6K, and that is an absurd amount of pixels. Like, let's just be very serious here. This is an absurd number of pixels, and I mean, I can still jog through it at effectively real time. I don't think playback will happen real time, will it? Kinda. Oh, we killed it. Nice. Nice. This is, so again, I keep getting these error messages that the GPU, I've suppressed them for the video, but my GPU is really running out of RAM. And weird things happen in the NVIDIA driver on Linux when you run the GPU out of RAM every single time. So that could be part of it. I'm blaming Resolve because Resolve is the application that's crashing, but honestly, it's probably just the NVIDIA drivers on Linux, just because, you know, that's how that goes. And I'm making a mess over here. All right, let's jump back into our actual task for the evening and see in Fusion what we're looking at. Yeah, the timeline, yeah, the resolution settings, I definitely have been very confused by them before as I'm working through it. But basically my process seems to be always just try to hit the timeline proxy mode to quarter, and then usually it doesn't crash too much. And then, you know, I'll override the timeline settings anytime that I want to export at a higher resolution than the actual project settings. The main thing that I'm finding is really helpful about how Resolve thinks about these things, especially compared to Premiere, is everything seems to be stored in terms of frame ratios instead of pixel values. So as I'm editing these splines and everything, I can update the frame resolution all day, and it doesn't throw off my control points and everything. It seems really well thought out in that regard. So, you know, chalk one up for sane design here. All right, let's see how much we lost when we crashed. Did we lose a bunch? No, doesn't look like we lost anything. What do you know? Quentin says, your tutorial series is on point. I have a project I'm trying to edit from start to finish in Resolve for the first time. Good luck. I'm learning this as I'm going. It's been a very interesting process, I'll tell you that. And again, the only reason why I decided to stick with Resolve was not the Blackmagic Raw codec, because the Blackmagic Raw plugin for Premiere seemed pretty okay. But literally, it all boils down to ACES. That's the only reason why I'm using Resolve and not Premiere. Is this for this project? My color workflow is all in ACES. And it's made interoperating with Blender a lot nicer. Okay. So let's see how much more of this we can get done before I gotta call it a night. And this one is definitely going to be a pain because I'm moving so fast. just trying to get these nudged into the right position, roughly. Oh, and hey, that's almost the intermediate frame. It's not too bad. Not great. I'll just make a quick adjustment and get a keyframe almost for free there. Yep. 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 So Quentin says in his case he's doing Resolve because of BRAW, because he can't stand Premiere, and because FCP still doesn't support BRAW. Filming an outdoor fire show, and I really need the exposure, control, dynamic range that BRAW gives. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, and I haven't gotten to it yet. I'm going to keep getting sidetracked, and that's okay, because this time is for us to hang out and talk through a bunch of stuff. You'll notice that I did film some fire, which I ended up using for my photoreal Blender fire, which I have not yet done the tutorial for this, but my plan is to put some of this content up on Patreon for supporters to actually use if they want to make torches in Blender. But yeah, I mean, the exposure is the dynamic range on this is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. So, yeah, I cannot fault the quality of the Blackmagic stuff. It's ridiculous. All right, one of these that we're on already. There we go. Okay. Keep getting sidetracked, but whatever. Whatever. This is my project. This is my live stream. We're going to do whatever I want to do. How's that sound? Cool. All right. And the shape is really changing here because the perspective is... I mean, my whole leg is rotating because I'm basically tripping, which is fun. I twisted my knee too. And hey, that's what you do for your art, right? Just go ahead and take a bat to the knee. My kids don't need me to be able to run and play with them. That's nonsense. All right. So we'll just get this in position here. Roughly. Yep. Cool. Yeah, the other thing that I really like about Resolve as compared to Premiere is this node-based workflow. I know that for a lot of people, node-based workflows are daunting, and I get it. I'm sympathetic to that perspective. But for me, the node-based workflow just makes sense. It feels right. It's easy to kind of conceptualize the flow of the signal from the inputs toward the outputs. And so many of the tools that I've come to really enjoy using and really depend on, like Blender, and like back in the day, Buzz Tracker was another big one. Kind of cut my teeth on that. Audio signal processing. Jack is the same way. There's really just it's been for me totally logical. It fits the way my brain wants to think about it. So, yeah, that's just, and it really, I guess what I'm hoping to show is that it really pays off, because here I'm using this tool for the first time. I've really never done much with. This is my literal first project with Resolve. I've never used Fusion for anything, and I was able to sort of conceptualize in my head and come up with a solution here that, while certainly not perfect, and more labor intensive than if I had a properly lit green screen, at the very least, this is a reasonable working solution, and it's less effort than rotoscoping around like the entire leg. So, and this will come in handy a ton for the next group of shots after I'm done with these dungeon ones, because the dungeon is only a small part of this episode. So let's see. Thundercrunch says, if you look at the mask, it looks like some sort of horror monster. Yeah, the alpha. I guess, yeah, there's like, I don't know, is this like the opposite of Slender Man? It's like Super Stout Man. He's like carrying a knife here, and his body is just like this horrible shape. That would be me. I would not be Slender Man. I am the opposite of Slender Man. And that's okay. Body positivity, guys. All right. Let's see. Oh, no. Okay, so this is actually a weird situation that I wanted to call out. I knew it was going to happen eventually. This control point just appeared out of nowhere because I accidentally grabbed the edge of the spline. And every time that happens, I need to hit Control Z, because remember, a B-spline, every control point is affected by the points around it. So unlike a regular polygon, there's nowhere for it to insert the control point that doesn't damage all of the previous keyframes. So if you ever do find yourself in a situation where you need more control points in your B-spline, that's fine. You can add them very easily, but you have to remember that you might need to go back and check all of your keyframes, because it will have slightly moved in that area. And that was a fun thing. Now, then sometimes it just does that, which I have no idea how that happened, but whatever. Anyway, that was a fun thing to discover randomly after doing a bunch of these. And it was not actually fun. That's a lie. But anyway, in case it's not obvious from my dour sort of demeanor, I am really enjoying having the opportunity to work on this stuff. And again, right now, I can only do this on nights and weekends. That's okay. It's been a passion project for a long time, and if that's how it remains, then that's okay. But I do find a lot of excitement in the idea of being able to do this full time someday. Not VFX art specifically, just in general, the process of working through the creative process, engaging with folks around the creative process, learning from one another, hanging out and having fun, making people laugh. Those are the things that I really enjoy. And I am very optimistic, uncharacteristically even optimistic, that Markley Bros Entertainment will become my full-time job eventually. Notice I say eventually, because that day is not today, and it is probably not even all that soon. All right, so we're slowing down here. The leg is no longer motion blurred all to heck. And got getting close to the beginning of the clip. I've actually been working backward. I intended to drop my first keyframe on either the beginning or the end of the clip, and I just made a mistake. All right, so we're getting closer to a point where our intermediates... Oh yeah, that's a big step. Oops. All right, well, I was really hoping that that was the last step, because I was thinking I could get away with like 1 or 2 more keyframes over here, but that's going to need a few more. That's okay. Just look at this, though, how this, you know, like over here, there's a ton of garbage. Over here, that's a ton of garbage. But if I just kind of drop it over here somewhere, it's going to look fine. It doesn't need to be perfect. Not even zoomed in that far. You know, like it's not going to be perfect, but it's going to look pretty darn good, I think, especially in the final composite with its, you know, lit in a dungeon. It's nice and dark down there. You can't see anything anyway. It's fine. It's fine. Fine. All right. All right. Let's see here. We're going to start moving this over here. Well, this might be like the last keyframe over here. All right, so we're getting down to the very beginning of the clip, which is what I was looking to do. Let's see. Do we need an intermediate? No, that's fine. Look at that. Look at that. So there we have a nice spline, and that is one fine leg. I gotta tell you, that leg has hardly any holes in it. That is a fine, solid, fleshy human leg right there. You can tell. All right, so I only have, you know, like 80% of this left to go, and then I have a second leg to do. So you can definitely tell this is a lot of work, and that's okay, because, you know, we around here we believe in working hard for the things that you love, and apparently I really love correcting horrible green screen mistakes, and I will continue to do so. But not on this live stream, because it has been going on plenty long enough. I think that you all have certainly got the gist of what I am doing. I have basically I've probably like 12 more hours of this stuff to do, which will probably stretch over the next like week or something. I'll be able to put in a good chunk of that time on Saturday probably. But I was really hoping that this Malex Minute episode would be done in early November, and at this point I'm just hoping that it gets done this year, because there's so much that I'm learning as I'm going, and I'm just going to continue to be radically transparent with you guys and show off my progress, show off where I'm at, what I'm doing, anything that I can share, I will continue to share, and I don't anticipate subsequent Malex Minute episodes to be as painful, either because I mean, number one, we will have learned a ton, and it's going to be easy to continue to compound those lessons into a more efficient process. But also, this is a really ambitious episode, and a lot of episodes that we do are just not going to be this ambitious. I would think if we do an episode that's this level of ambition, you know, like once a year or something, then we've probably got a ton of like regular episodes in between. So, but we'll see. I have no idea what this is going to look like. Right now, I'm just enjoying the journey, and I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys hanging out and going on this journey with me. So let's see. I was just checking in Discord because it looks like. Oh no, Thundercrunch has pasted me into. What even is this? Is this like an SCP that I don't recognize? Oh no, is this. Wait. What am I looking at, Thundercrunch? What have you done? All right, well, and with that, I want to put one more quick shout out to my Patreon supporters. I've got, you know, just a handful right now, but hey, it could be you next. But again, thank you to my Patreon supporters for being so encouraging and helping me to get on here and get some of this work done. And I hope you all have a wonderful evening. Oh yes, Thundercrunch clarifies that it was a picture that Peter posted of a scary snufflefungus, and it was indeed. I did kind of recognize it. It was extremely scary. So, yikes. All right, with that, I will bid you all adieu. Thank you again so much for watching. Thank you for hanging out. Let me know in the comments if you want to see something else or if you have any questions for me. Would absolutely love to engage with you all that way. So have a great evening, and we'll see you around soon. Thanks. Bye.